We live. What happened? Where you go? There you go.
Yo, 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 what up? Welcome to another edition or another episode of What's Up, What's Up, Cuzzo's podcast with the one and only Jamel is in the building.
What up? What up? What's good? What's good? How you feeling?
Man, feel good, man. And myself, Marco is in the building. We try to give you the latest and greatest and give you the opinion from two regular dudes out here in these streets to see what we're talking about.
Indeed.
So how you been, Cuzzo?
You know, man, just another day in life, man. I can't complain, man. And if I do, ain't nobody listening, so I just choose not to. So it is what it is. I just move through it. How you feeling?
Oh man, I feel pretty good, man. And I definitely understand, man. You said if you complain when nobody care, man. Hey, somebody told me people are probably happy it's not them who's going through whatever you're going through. So hey, it is what it is.
They're just happy it's you and not them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm having some malfunction with my headphones, but we're gonna keep it pushing. Man, so like always, things will happen.
And always things will continue to happen on a daily basis.
Absolutely, man. So let's go ahead and jump into the topics. First, we have Angel Reese and Krishan. Angel Reese is making waves again. It doesn't have nothing to do with her rebounding on the court, but it has to do with her having a guest, Krishan Rock, and then discussing the pay gap between men and women. So we are going to hop right into it, and we're going to see what it is they got to say.
See for women's sports.
Us getting paid our worth.
Period.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're doing exactly what LeBron is doing. So, what's going on?
Sis,
I don't
they
like
ain't got
that.
the money for us just yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
Is it? I
It's like-
don't understand
It's
it.
a lot. It's a lot that goes into it, but it's coming. Trust me, it's coming.
Yo,
Plastic surgeon saggy neck hack.
Dr.
Not
Lakey,
the
right?
saggy
Plastic
neck
surgeon
hack.
to the stars?
Guilty.
Okay, what's your best tip for looking?
Definitely not getting paid by the advertisement, so don't even pay attention to it. We're not sponsored.
Absolutely. So what you think, Cuzzo?
I mean, we heard the story before. She's definitely not doing the same thing LeBron is doing, Nowhere near, She's not jumping, from almost the free throw line, dunking on the fast break. She's in some capacity doing something similar, because it's basketball, but it's not the same thing. It does not draw the same attention. It does not draw the same attention and interest from people, it's all about entertainment. So when someone they sit down and they take time out of their day or their work week, and they're excited to sit down and watch, some sports, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be flipping to women's basketball unless you have some great players on the team that are polarizing, maybe some popular people, like we've had the last few years from college to NBA. We've had Caitlin Clark, we've had Angel Reese, as you heard her speak. And there's a few other, coming out of college now that I think is going to make the league more entertaining because the skills, are heightening, with each passing year, so I think that's going to help. But I think that's what she alluded to because she understood it when she came in the league. She brought a lot of flair. She brought a lot of interest. She brought a lot of drama behind her. And, the other girl that came in with her, Caitlin Clark. So that, definitely sells tickets. That definitely gets eyeballs. That also gets you contracts with, the networks. So from my understanding, the league, their league hasn't been profitable ever. I could be wrong. I'm not the expert, but that's just, what I understand, just by listening to other people that know more than me. But, she has every right to feel and think the way that she feels, and they both do. They feel like they are valuable to the marketplace and what they provide and what they bring. So, I don't think the correct term is equal, pay and treatment because, it's not the same thing. There's difference, there's levels, there's a varying difference, in person to person. It could be man to man, it could be female to female, but not everyone has the same draw, the same skills,
Right.
and not everyone has the eyeballs, based on what they bring to the table. And that can come from a skill set, that can come from an entertainment background, so it just depends, on, what you're bringing to the platform that's going to entertain people at a level that's going to keep them captivated and pulled in, for those hours that, the game is going on.
Absolutely. You can hear me fine, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So man, it's crazy that this topic keeps coming up. And I kind of did a little digging, and so I looked at so Angel Reese, I think she makes about, it says like 73,000 a year, right? But then when you start to dig deeper, you look at like the what income that the WNBA brings in, and then you look at again what the NBA brings in, and so the NBA is continually subsidizing, the WNBA, and so I get it, more eyes are on them, like like you said, but it hasn't gotten to the point to where they're even profitable, to where people want to go to their games, a lot. So, I mean, I get it. I get that there are more eyes on them and they want to be compensated more. And I think, by her chuckle, she kind of knows, I'm sure she got some backlash. She knows that they don't necessarily deserve more right now. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's we know some women suffer from this thing called delusion. I mean, a lot of people suffer for it. Let me not just women. I don't want to be deemed as chauvinistic, or misogynistic, you know what I'm saying? But some people suffer from a thing called delusion, and they You know, I get it if you guys work in the same capacity, you guys bring in the same type of, you know, revenue. But in this case, it's not the case. You know, even if you look at others, you know, they don't have a women's major baseball. I wonder why. You know, they don't have they do have women's soccer, but even the men, you know, the women are popular. You know, there's a lot of sports out there that women just haven't got to the level of men. You know, and it I mean, it may happen. I don't know. You do, like you said, you do. We do have other players coming into the NBA, or WNBA, excuse me, that are really, really good. You know, I don't know if you saw like there's a second round draft pick. Like she, hey, I think she like 6'6". I think she got drafted to Seattle, and she caught the ball. They were showing her practice. She caught the ball at the top of the key, and then she did a drop step and dunked. I was like, hold on, man. I'm like, Juwan,
Ah,
I don't. Hey,
right.
I was like, that's crazy. Like she was able to she drop step dunk here and I could. You know, I was
Right.
like, that's
Right.
crazy.
Right.
So I mean, it may be coming. And then if you look at it too, if you look at the time difference, right? You have the WNBA, I think is what about probably 25, 30 years old. And then you have the NBA, which is over 100 years old. So how can you expect to bridge that gap so quickly, you know, when the NBA has been around? And they're probably, you're at the stage where they were at probably, you know, 70 years ago, 60 years ago. You know, a lot of when the NBA started, a lot of these guys worked full-time jobs along with
Mm-hmm.
playing in the NBA. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you got to think about that. Like, you have to factor those things in. You're still new. You're still at your infancy stage, even though you have 30 years behind you. So it's going to take some time for you to get to, you know, where the NBA is. You know, if that be the case. So pump your brakes, ladies.
Man, I mean, to have the conversation that they are having, I get it. It sounds good and it's entertaining, but I mean, if you're not going to be realistic or logical about it, then it's a fantasy. You know, no one's going to really take you seriously if you're not looking at the tangible things that make up the reasons for, you know, requesting or asking for, you know, more money. You know, if you're bringing in more money, then yeah, is the business, you know, is it the business making money? Is it not, is it out of the black or the red as they call it? Then yeah. But I mean, if you are starting up and you feel like, yeah, you know, I've done this, I've done that, well, yeah, you did, but you guys are not there yet, you know. So they're probably in the stages of starting to build something that's going to allow them to get to where they can start to get more money eventually. But
Right.
unfortunately, as we've seen throughout the past for other players, you're in the wrong bracket. You know, you're the people that's bringing in that wave. You're not at the end of the wave or the middle of the wave. You're in the front making the wave.
Right.
You know? So, you know, hats off to you for being, you know, that individual. But yeah.
Right. And even more on the business side of it, excuse me. If you look at all the endorsement deals, all the TV deals that the NBA has gotten, and they didn't get there overnight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have to be patient. And actually, to even go a little deeper, the NBA was probably going to go away at some point. That's why if you really know, are a historian of basketball, you hear people say, you actually don't even have to be a historian, but you may have heard people say that Magic and Larry Bird saved the NBA
Mm-hmm.
because the NBA was on a decline because people weren't really watching it. And so I think it can be something profitable, in the future. They just have to, continue to do things to bring more people in. And this is the key thing, is that the people who want to see it blossom and get bigger, those are the same people that need to contribute their funds and their resources to going to games, to watching the games, to supporting the lady players so they can see it grow. Because if you just say, oh, the NBA, the WNBA should be getting paid the same as the NBA, and you're not going to watch them, supporting them, then you're working against them yourself. So yeah. Yes, sir. So
Sure.
for sure. Man, so I support women in sports, but equal pay means equal business, kind of like we already said, and the WNBA just isn't there quite yet. So we're gonna go ahead and transition to the next topic. We have the great mayor of our state, Gavin Newsom, back in the headlines. This time, he's suing the Trump administration over new tariffs. He says they're unconstitutional and they hurt the California economy. Oh man, you gotta be kidding me. But anyway, let's
Okay.
see. Let's hop into it. Let me see real quick what we got here. Man, good old Gavin. There we are.
News alert this afternoon. California Governor Gavin Newsom moments ago announcing a lawsuit against President Trump's sweeping tariffs plan, calling it illegal and unconstitutional. Take a listen.
Is poised to lose more than the state of California. So that's our state of mind. That's why we're asserting ourselves on behalf of 40 million Americans. And I imagine if you caucus those 40 million Americans, you'd find few, I don't care where they were in the last election, that are celebrating this uncertainty, that are celebrating the largest tax increase in modern U.S. history.
Newsom added that Republicans are sitting, quote, passively as Trump wrecks the economy. And Sandra, the point or the issue that Governor Newsom was making is he says that Trump did these tariffs basically without congressional approval. He's not a fan of that, so he's suing. And remember, when Trump announced them, some of the ones against Canada, Newsom directly appealed to Canada, hey, do business with us, leave us out of any retaliation.
And it appears to be another way he can go after the Trump agenda. He's making the case that California's got a massive economy that would get hit by these before anything has actually happened. This appears to be a political target for him on President Trump. So we'll see where he gets with it.
It's like a lawsuit.
All right.
I'll let you start off with that one.
Man. Well, I'll just say this. I'll start like this. It's funny how people are coming after the president about things that he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they forgot about the things that they did or things that they were associated with. So I don't know if you heard, we probably will talk about this at some point, or maybe we won't, but Letitia James, how she's in trouble because she falsified some information on residency and loans, and stuff like that, right? And she was going after Trump about him falsifying things. They were going after Eric Adams about him putting a certain travel request in the wrong area, and they were going after him for that. And then we look at our president. Well, yeah, that's what they were going after him before, but they dropped everything, right? So then we look at Gavin Newsom.
Mm-hmm.
We know over the years, Gavin Newsom has been given billions of dollars to clean up the streets of LA. But what did he do with it? What happened with that money? So while he's like fighting like the Trump administration, maybe he should focus on fixing the things, in California. Like homelessness, was at a staggering high, but instead of it going down, it even increased. I was looking for the number really quick, but I can't find it right now. But I know we are the state. Our homelessness is probably leading in the United States. It's up there if it's not number one. And so for him to try to sue Trump over tariffs which are affecting the state of California, what about what you've done? We're at $1 billion deficit in Los Angeles alone, and we're at a $17 billion deficit in California. And when you came into office, we had a surplus. Even if it was $1 million, it wasn't a deficit. And you have your nerves to try to sue somebody. But what about you? I don't know what his goal is. Some say she's going to try to run for president of the United States, and maybe he's trying to get on the side of the good old liberal folks here in California and other states by suing Trump. I don't know what his deal is, but it just sounds weird to me. It's like the pot calling the kettle black. So I'm just confused when I hear him say that, and it's funny. I don't know if you remember I think we reviewed this when Trump came here for, during the fires, it seemed like he was, trying to be buddy, but now he's trying to go after him again. So like, what's the deal? What's the deal with you, Gavin? I don't know what's up with you, bro. I have no idea, man. It's crazy. It's crazy just to see it. I don't know that. Go ahead. I'll digress and let you share, and I might come back after.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said, I mean, I definitely get what you're talking about. Just thinking back, on, like you said, the whole fire situation, and then Trump coming in and having a conversation with even, the mayor Karen Bass, on how they handled that whole situation. It was totally, screwed up. It should have never went that way. So you guys are complaining about what's unconstitutional. You talking about is wrecking the economy when that was already being done. You can't wreck something that was already wrecked. Now you may be making some adjustments to try to course correct, but it's already too far in the red, for us to even see what, he's trying to do or trying to implement. So I get what everyone's saying about the economy being destroyed. Well, the economy was already bad. It's not like he's coming in here and messing at something that was already good. No, everybody just kind of going along with it because they had somebody in office that they can tolerate or somewhat deal with or, agree with. But I don't see how you could, because there was a lot of different things that was happening that was not beneficial, to your way of life. But, most people only understand, basic things. Most people only understand one or two things. Is it going to cost me more? Do I have to pay more? Is more being taken away from me? And if it is, who's doing it? Oh, if he's doing it, well, he might have a good reason to, is this and that. Oh, he's doing it. Oh, no, we got to sue. I don't like him. See, this is the problem, So just the cognitive dissonance that goes on just between the two aspects of one person doing it and then another person doing something. I think really has to be studied, and kind of put out there for people to see. You can't be hypocritical about this part and not hypocritical on the other side, but I guess you can. You can be critical. You can be critical on this side and not be critical on the other side because of whoever's doing it. Just like somebody told me, it's like, man, people will, buy stuff, but they won't buy it because it's you. Or they'll support this cause, but they won't support if it's you. You know what I'm saying? So just that fact alone tells me that people will take a loss, or people will pay more, or people will lose out on things just because it's an individual doing it, or a certain individual, versus, someone that they don't even really agree with, but they think they agree because they was told to agree.
Well, I think it's because they're tied to a party too. Like people are, faithful to a party, even at the cost of it it hurting them. They don't want to be open-minded,
right.
Or I would say self-thinking,
right.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. And then just understanding that democracy is mob mentality. So it's like you're going to agree with the mob, based on this mentality. Versus what you're supposed to be doing is agreeing and going along with we the people, who, stick to, the Constitution and what that says, because it protects your rights. And it doesn't take them away to give you privileges that can be taken away, as you see with votes and new laws and restrictions and, this or that. So I think people need to start working on that aspect of their thought process and understanding what they truly are involved in. You are involved in a studio audience and you are either cheering or you're booing, the wrestler coming out the back. You were told not to like this guy, so you're gonna boo him.
Ooh.
Next week you were told he's a good guy, so now you're gonna cheer for him.
Yes, sir.
The sign. So it's just like WWE. We seen it. We seen good guys become bad. Hulk Hogan, when he was good, and then he went with the what was it, the
NWO, New World Order.
NWO, right? And he was bad. Yeah, and everybody hated him. So it's just kind of like, that's what it's like. It's politics is like the same thing, People loved Trump back in the day before, and then they were told to hate him. Now they don't like him,
Right.
So that's my spiel.
Yeah, man. Like I was saying, people are faithful to a party even at their detriment. 50 Cent, he went down to Louisiana and he was promoting a bill that would have lowered their taxes. But because they were unfamiliar with it and didn't want to dig deeper and try to figure out what it was about, they declined it and they'd rather be taxed more. So that's the type of thing, man. Like people are faithful to this party, not saying that the party has always been bad, but the mindset should be to not just go along with the party. They say to get along, go along game, or get along, go along, get along game, how you say it. But, just because, you've always voted this way doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything they say all the time. So yeah, it's unfortunate, man. And I really think he's positioning himself to, run for office in the future. That's what I think he's doing. And he's been doing that. And hopefully people really see how he is and see how he's fumbled this, state of California. It is a great state. I believe it's a great state. He mentions that, but he's fumbled the bag. Like if you look at the Bay Area, like it's declined, over the years. If you look at, taxes they just keep taxing the hell out of us. I think we're probably if not the number one tax state in the United States, we're number two. It's either us and New York. And they keep raising our taxes. It's like that's not what we were, put on the earth to do, just to pay taxes, but that's what it seems like. And people don't it doesn't seem like people really want to change. They just want to say, you know what, I'll go along with him because I was told to vote for him. I was told to vote down ballot Democrat. So that's what I'm going to do every time, no matter, even if he says, you know what, all your firstborn, we taking them. We're going to take all your firstborn. You know what? He's a Democrat. So I believe in him. I think he's going to do the right thing. So unfortunately, fortunately, some people change their mind. Some people, thought for themselves, but I don't know how long it's going to take for, us to, as a people in California to turn around, because we have a lot of people who think one way and believe in doing things contrary to, what I believe in, but, it is what it is. So anyway, man, hopefully, they smash this whole lawsuit with Gavin and he, gets put back in his little hole. But I want him out of here, man. I can't wait to see him out of here. Can't wait to see him out of here, man.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if we can get somebody young and, hip, but California's a tough state,
Yeah, we're gonna get somebody young and super far left, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. We don't I mean, for California, you don't have to be super far left. What I say, you can be in the middle, but
right.
You can also say, hey, I'm not going to be swayed by rhetoric. I can only look at, the logical states and sense, and sometimes people don't subscribe to that is because they want you to think a certain way. And wait a minute, we can't have a disagreement, but yet still get along. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Or we can't, or I can't say, hey, that's fine for you, but for me, this is the way I look at it, and also what I truly believe, because this is the way I was raised, and that has no bearing on what you choose to do. That's just your choice, and the fact of the matter, and that's okay. But this is what I'm here to represent, and this is what I'm here to make sure people understand and know, that you have the ability to do whatever you want to please, but you cannot force others to think and feel the same way about what you choose to do. And that's the only
that's huge, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the way I would look at it, and that's how I would put it forth to people, and hopefully they can receive that. A lot of time people won't, because it's like, hey, I'm throwing a tantrum. I need you to give me some attention and agree to what I'm saying. And it's like, I'm not telling you no in the sense of what you're asking, but what I'm telling you is that, hey, in order for it to be fair across the board, we have to look at it this way. It can't just be your way. It has to be an agreement that we all can come to and see and agree on. And it has to be some foundational principles in terms of why we have that agreement, not on your rhetoric, but on what we can do as a whole. And that's just what the people stands for, not what democracy stands for. Those are the two things, is the way I'm looking at it. So
yeah, I'll just say that. I know. Yeah, man, you hit the nail on the head, though. It's crazy that people get emotional because we don't agree. Like it's okay that we don't agree. Like, what's the word? It's the monolith or something like that. Like we don't always have to agree on the same things. Like if we all agreed on the same things, then there wouldn't be no progression. There wouldn't be no challenging of thought, because all the things that we see that were created, or a lot of things that were created, there was difference in thought. You know, people challenged theory. You know, people had a different hypothesis, you know, as it relates to things. So if we all thought the same, then there would be none of this stuff. Or I believe it wouldn't be a lot of the things that we have, because people would all think the same. And so just because we don't think the same and we don't agree on things, it also, like you said, it doesn't mean we have to have an argument. It doesn't mean we have to be at odds. It doesn't mean that, you know, because we disagree, we can't move forward. Like, it's not an argument either, you know, because we know some people become emotional because we disagree with them, but just because we disagree, it doesn't mean that I don't like you. It doesn't mean that, you know, I want to be on your bad side versus, or are you on my bad side? We just don't agree on this thing, you know? So it is what it is, man. We're gonna move forward.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So next up we got over in Pinole, California. Pinole is up in the Bay Area. Video went viral of a woman throwing out racial slurs during a confrontation in the parking lot. She used the ninja word multiple times, mocking other women's appearance. At the police. Yeah, so we're gonna go and check her out and see what this ninja had to say. Oh, you know what? I could have just did. There we go. Share this tab. Yeah. I'm learning.
All the time, every day, 24/7.
Repeated racist slurs caught on camera. NBC's Alyssa Gord explains how the community is reacting.
Even though we can't see it.
Play on
we can
TV,
see she said something bad because they got her mouth blocked
racist
out
rant
and
that's
it's
going
muted.
viral. The video has the attention of police in Contra Costa County and as a community in an uproar.
You see it there. Repeated racist slurs caught on camera. NBC's Alyssa Gord explains how the community is reacting in the story that's new at 11.
That viral video was taken in the parking lot of the restaurant behind me. The owner of that restaurant says that he's now alerted staff to be on the lookout for the woman in the video and to not allow her inside. A video now shared by multiple accounts and viewed by millions shows a woman in a car repeatedly saying the N-word at another woman. She uses the racist slur so frequently, we are not sharing the audio.
Folks from not even just around Pinole,
heard that
and the
word
Bay
a
Area,
lot,
but
man.
even Los Angeles got a hold of this video and was asking me, was this your city? And unfortunately, the answer was yes.
Pinole Mayor Cameron Sasai says it happened Sunday in downtown Pinole, in the parking lot outside the Pear Street Bistro. He says the person who filmed the video is in touch with the city and police are investigating this as a hate incident. Now he says the case has been shared with the Contra Costa County DA.
I think the big key here is that you need to do an investigation as to the authenticity of this video and also what led up to this incident, because not every racial slur leads to a hate crime.
Former prosecutor Stephen Clark says what happened before and after the video will help investigators determine whether a crime was committed. The owner of the bistro tells us this happened after brunch and that the woman seen in the car had been sitting at the bar by herself, but did not have alcohol there.
But I think the district attorney's office is going to look into this to see whether not only this will be charged as misdemeanor disturbing the peace, but whether there will be a hate crime enhancement.
We have not gotten confirmation of the name of the woman in the video. The license plate on the car is registered to someone who also faces several charges this year for stealing from a cosmetics store.
Regardless of the context, those words, those racial slurs, that racist anti-Black rhetoric is not acceptable.
Community members are incensed and looking for answers. In Pinole.
There we go. So what you think, man?
I mean, this happens, a lot. You know, they just giving this one attention, which is good. I'm glad that they are. I think when we first saw the video, he was like, you seeing yourself in the mirror? I mean, how do you think you are beyond, the word that you calling me, chances are she was talking to someone that's born here. Not to say that she wasn't, but just to look at her and look at possibly or think about possibly she was talking to. They were actually born here and she was not. So the woman looked, like she was from India. She looks Americanized, so she might have come here, at a very young age, or maybe born here. I don't know. But just to have the conversation of how other nationalities look at us, that's par for the course. I haven't heard any, people from Africa call black people that word. I haven't heard, anybody from any other Caribbean, place like Dominican Republic. You got Puerto Rico. Like all those places have some type of bias towards, Americanized so-called black people because of what they're taught before they come here. They have racism or caste systems in their own countries. So before they come here, they're taught about, us, not to get involved with them. They're lazy, they're violent, this, that, and the other. So when you come across one, make sure that you protect yourself, because they're going to be loud, rude, obnoxious, so in order for you to deal with it, you want to be typically the same way, And I'm just speculating. That's the conversation, but I can just think possibly, generalize, if someone's having a conversation and then that's the narrative, we've all heard before, and those probably or possibly some of the things that they're going to be speaking about and talking about, so like they said, we don't know what led up to that. Possibly was an altercation or some words being said or parking spot, a look, whatever. It could be many varying things, but just to sit there and call someone out of their name to kind of demean them, that's definitely something that's old and it's something that I don't think should be tolerated, even for any race of people or any culture, any nationality. I don't think someone should have the audacity to call someone, a derogatory term, because you're having a disagreement, you know. So unfortunately, that's what happened there. And yeah, hate crime, it's stretching it, but definitely there was some hate speech there. So they're probably gonna investigate and not do much. But like the guy said at the restaurant, don't allow her back in here. And the people online, they gonna get at her. So she gonna have to lay low for a minute. And yeah, gotta say
Yeah,
about
man.
that.
So yeah, I think it was ignorant all the way around. For her to, say what she said. Yeah, and I get it. It could have been something that the girl did or the other, the young lady did that, upset her. But you have to be careful, all the way around. Because that we got some internet detectives out here. Like it's people that can track you down. And I think I saw a post where they said she was a nurse at Kaiser Permanente. I don't know how true it is or not, but you could potentially lose your job from because of one moment, and so I don't see myself, going back and forth with people because, hey, social media, people have a camera on their phones and they could, post any and everything at a drop of a dime, by one click, one press, a couple presses and it's live. So you just have to be careful. I don't agree with, what she did and how she went about it, even though it appeared that she was upset. I don't think that word doesn't necessarily bother me per se. But you also have to look into it. A lot of us, us being, I'm talking about people in general, whatever our background is, we've dealt with stuff from our own countries, like the country that that our people originated from. We dealt with things, people calling us certain names, or calling our ancestors certain names. So I'm sure, there's a certain they got a word for everybody. They call, they got a name for white people, they got a name for Latino people, they got a name for Black people, and I'm sure they got a name. I just don't know what it is, so like I wouldn't allow that word to necessarily upset me or hurt me. But I mean, I definitely would have said something, but I wouldn't allow it to get me outside of my character and have me, go crazy. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. We don't know what happened before. But we'll see what happens. We'll see, what happens to her. If we hear, later down the line, if they did really find out where her job is. Like I've heard people that have called up to their job, and gotten them fired, like just flooded the phone lines of people's jobs with phone calls. So like I said, you got to be careful. You can't be dumb. And she looked she looked younger, so she, had a weak moment, and we'll see what happens to her. I was gonna say hopefully it doesn't affect her, but I mean, if you are stupid like that, then you did, what they say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So this might be one of those prizes that she, wins from, what she did. So, it is what it is, man. Unfortunately, we still have some people out there, who are like that. And if you want to like dig deeper, like where did she learn this from? Did she really learn it, from seeing it on TV or something? 9 times out of 10, let me lower it for some people. Y'all might not agree with me. 7 times out of 10, we learn a lot of the stuff that we learn from our parents, from our upbringing. So are her parents going around saying that word? I don't know. I could be wrong, but if I was a betting man, I done threw some bets out there, before. I done lost some, but I think this one right here, I think I'll probably win this one. If I, like I said, if I was a betting man, I'm sure, somebody in her family, says that those same words or believes that same thing about our people, man. So it is what it is, man. We're gonna slide on to the last subject of the day. We could see if we could talk about this from a male point of view, but we have actress Tracy Ellis Ross recently opened up about something a lot of people can relate to, but rarely talk about: grieving the life you didn't live, she said. So we'll go ahead and play that video and see what Tracy has to say.
I did dream of my wedding growing up. And that's not to say that I didn't dream of the bigness of my life, but I could have spent a lot more time dreaming of my life. And as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, I still wouldn't want the wrong partner.
That's a great point for people to hear.
I'm not interested in that. You have to make my life better. It can't just be, I'm in a relationship, be in a relationship. So even though the grief does emerge and that comes and I hold that, I think of what I've done. And I woke up every morning trying to do my best. I didn't wake up one morning and be like, I'm going to mess this day up.
That's right.
So I must be where I'm supposed to be. And I don't know. Sometimes I think of all of the things I've done, the courage that I've had to have and what I've had to learn how to navigate as a single person with no one to hide behind. And it's built a really beautiful experience around me. And I have incredible friends.
Interesting. I don't know. Sometimes people say, if you are even younger than her, because I'm not sure how old she is, but if you get to a certain age and you don't have any kids, she's 52. So if you get to a certain age, you don't have no kids, you don't have no partner, like it's a red flag. And it's one thing that she said that kind of stuck out. She said that, if I'm with somebody, they have to make my life better. Like better how? I can't believe that it's not any person out there in the world or anybody that she's ran into that wouldn't make her life better, in a lot of ways. And sometimes I think the problem is that I'm not saying lower your standards to like the floor, but sometimes the standards in some instances are too high. And stuff like that happens. You get to a point where you're, old and you look back, or sometimes I'll say maybe it's not just your standards, like some women are really, I say maybe some people are really focused on their career and they put their career before, starting a family. And unfortunately men could really, do it at I've been trying to stop saying, I've been trying to stop saying it. I think I did better. But anyway, men have more of an opportunity to have a family, even at a later age. But women, once you get to a certain point, then you have to consider other options, adopting or, taking on, just said it again, taking on, another family. I don't know what that is, what that looks like, but yeah, I think that, from hearing her, it was a really emotional thing, and she's probably come to a realization that it may not happen. I don't know. I've seen people, have kids at a late age, but 52, I don't know. They say in the 30s is the danger zone. At 52, I don't know. I've seen people in their 40s, like mid 40s, have healthy kids, but at her age, I don't know. And maybe she's, at that point where, from what it sounded like to me, is she's kind of, giving up.
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely some interesting takes and points. And just listening to her breakdown of what she was talking about, I heard her. What stuck out to me was, her wedding. When she was little,
Yeah.
She dreamed about her wedding day. And most little girls, have that fantasy or that dream, of how their wedding would be, how their life would be, when they're little girls. And if it doesn't turn out that way, or you don't have that emotional connection to the moment, you're going to miss out on the opportunity to have, you know, a good life, or a life, that resembles, that dream. And it may not be exactly down to a T, what you thought about it would be or dreamt it would be, but it could be a possible similarity in some ways,
Right.
because you've let go some of, the unrealistic, ways and how things could happen, and then you got to pay attention to, what actually is, and not what could be or what could possibly be, you know. And I just think, women of her stature and her likeness, because she's physically pleasing to the eyes, you know, and then she
Yes,
had
sir.
the pedigree, you know, of her mom being who she was,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, so she's been around, you know, an industry, you know, or a certain type of, you know, caliber of people her whole entire life, you know.
Right.
And so for whatever reason, she couldn't find anybody in that sphere or that network of individuals that, you know, was to her standard or gave her that feeling of, you know, what she felt as a little girl, you know.
I can't believe that she didn't see it. I just believe a lot of women look over that person that could give them what they want or is willing to give them what they want, but they just look right past them. The person is usually right under their nose.
And not only that, sometimes they have the opportunity. Like I'm pretty sure she had many opportunity. I'm pretty
For
sure
sure.
many dudes made passes at her and told her to give her whatever she wanted, but she, for whatever reason, turned it down. You know, it could have been under certain pretenses or circumstances, and they was like she probably just said no. You know, for whatever reason. And we don't know those reasons. I mean, she's not being totally honest or candid. She's just making a generalized standard point, you know, based on, you know, what she was feeling or thinking about as a little girl and where she is now today, you know, and would like to be and doesn't know if it's going to truly ever happen because, like you say, as women get older, like the possibilities of you finding someone or being with someone that's going to give you that, you know, is slim to none. So
And there's definitely been a change in the way that people date now. You know, I know you're the lucky one and you married. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. But out here now, man, it's the standards are different. You know, men are not marrying women who are older. They're usually married, and you know, and that was the case before, but it's even more intensified now. Like men are marrying women that are younger than them. You know, so you know, unless you know, kind of like we had a conversation the other day with our family, right? You know, hey, age up a little bit. You know, 2-3 years older than you may not work out, especially if you're, you know, well into your 50s, 40s or 50s. I just got to be honest, you know, y'all may see it later down the line, but I done already said it. But I see girls I went to high school with, and I'm like, no, sir, I won't do it. You know, but back in the day, they were, you know, they're fly, but now it's like, no, like she done been through something in life. You know, and I'm not saying, you know, this is my thing. I'm not saying I'm Billy D. Williams, but I do have a choice. You know what I'm saying? I got a choice, just like y'all do.
you know
And it's
what?
usually
You know what I could say about that? I think I've seen one girl that's still bad today, and she was bad, you know, when I was in school. And the reason why she is that way, she don't have no kids. Probably ain't never been married. And that's usually what it is that preserves you. And same thing with guys. Guys don't have kids. They don't get married. Yeah, single life. Yeah, it kind of it kind of preserves you because when you're in a a compromising situation, it sounds negative, but yeah, you're compromising with another individual. That takes a lot to do that.
100%.
Not to say that you're doing things that you don't want to, but you are looking at things from a perspective of working with someone, even if you don't want to, because of your own personal feelings or emotions about a certain situation or a topic or in a situation, and you feel like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this, but in order to make it work, you have to, you know. So for her, you know, you might have been in situations, or she might have been in situations to where she didn't want to compromise. You know, this is who I am, this is what I am, and if you don't want to, you know, accept that, then this is not going to work, or I can't be with you, you know. And a lot of times, a lot of women that are career driven, you know, they don't have time for compromises. Same thing with men. Men that are career driven, they don't have time for compromises. So a lot of guys that are single today and don't have kids, probably was in a certain sphere of friend group or dating pool that didn't want to get sucked into the whole baby daddy era. I think I was at the height of it because nobody told me about baby daddy eras. So it's like
I
when I
wish they
got
had
sucked
told me.
in, yeah, I wish they had told me too. I would have probably been just like one of these other guys with no kids.
Yeah.
But all in all, it's just part of the process of you learning and understanding, what your life is like, if you make certain or different choices. Some people are made to be married, some people are not. Some people are made to talk about, how they want their life to be, and it never will be because they're always having some hangups or some issues personally. And that comes from maybe trauma, what they call an unhealed childhood traumatic situation, and it has nothing to do with anything, physical. It could be emotional or it could be mental. There's a lot of different ways that people as adults today block themselves from achieving things in their adult lives because they haven't dealt with things from their childhood. And it can also be a certain thought pattern or mentality, like she was talking about. This is how I dreamed my wedding would be. She still has that mentality. So
Right.
that may be holding her back from having an actual realization or an actual relationship in her life because it doesn't look like the way she dreamed it, so she wants it to be perfect. I need it to be perfect. I need it to be like this. And people that always want perfection, they never actually get to having something that's really, really good. It's close to being perfect, but it's not. So people will not have anything good because it's not perfection. That makes
Right.
sense.
Oh, it makes total sense. And I think that's why she, missed out, because it's nothing is perfect, in the sense of uh in line in every which way. So, and then you have to realize that, the person that you're with, I think it's what was the name of the book? The Four Agreements. And what you have to realize is that when you come into a relationship with somebody, you guys both have come from two totally different spectrums. Even though if you have some similarities, you like some of the same things, you agree on some of the same things. They're raised by two people who, or maybe raised by two people who believe things go a certain way. You were raised by another set of people that believe things that go a certain way. You may have been rich, you may have been poor, you may have been middle class, like all these different factors come into play. And when you come together with somebody, I think it's important to have like a lot of these conversations. I'm talking to myself too. Make sure you have a lot of these conversations so you can see if that person aligns with you or not. So, I wish her the best. Like to your point, man, hey, she's aesthetically pleasing. I like the way you put that. Yeah, she's easy on the eyes, but at 52, we've seen a lot of other people out there who are, in that same age bracket, who are in the same field, who can't seem to stay married. But anyway, man, we'll leave it at that. That is our last topic. It's a reminder that living on your own terms without ticking every box society accepts is just as powerful. I guess that's what a statement that she said. Well, anyway, all right, Cuzzo, that's it for today's episode. We touched on everything: sports, politics, social justice, and other speak, relationship talk. Everyone out there, if you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor, rate it, share, comment, hit the follow. And you already know we try to keep it 100 in here. Did you have anything you wanted to share, Cuzzo? I see you double time on here.
Yeah, man. As always, appreciate you, Cuzzo, for holding down on the back end, man. And hopefully someone sees this recording. They got something out of it, whether you disagree or not. And just take a look, comment, share it, subscribe, and hopefully you can join the conversation as we move along and move forward. And man, everyone have and enjoy their weekend. Live your life.
Absolutely. Cuzzo. Enjoy your weekend too, man. Don't work too hard out there.
Man, that's always a goal and the plan. So let's keep it moving.
Absolutely. All right, man. Appreciate you. Peace.